Hi there, this is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo. I'm here with Papa Joe.
Hey, Papa Joe's here.
Tyler Kelly.
Hello.
And Matt, Jenna's brother from
That's right.
Iowa.
Welcome.
From the Midwest, not exactly Minnesota.
No.
But
No, not
is there?
Minnesota.
There's not much of an Iowa accent out there, is there?
I don't know. There's an Iowa accent. It's like not quite Missouri, but somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
lost.
it's New Year's Eve and you're down here, and I guess
Right.
it's in. I don't know. This time of year is kind of weird because it could be like 40 degrees there. It could be 10.
It was like 60 over Christmas. Yeah.
Yep. That's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays. It's New Year's Eve 2019, and we're going to do a little year-end review about the things that happened. But I'm 10 days. I'll just make the announcement so it doesn't seem weird to people. I haven't had a drink in 10 days. We'll go, I'm sure in the course of the next year, we'll talk about what goes on in that, but you may not hear me I won't be taking as many pee breaks.
No, you won't.
No, hopefully. Well,
I will take them for you.
yeah, it depends on how much coffee I drink. But to bring in the 2000, what I did last night was any forewarning of what's going to come to us 2020. My phone was dying, and I thought I'd be Mr. Fix-It, and I'm technically challenged.
You've got a lot of technology sitting here, man.
I do, but it's trial and error. It's like a monkey trying to figure out how to work the thing.
Operate a switchboard.
Yeah. And I had this phone, and I ordered a battery for it. It's a Motorola, right? And I ordered a battery for it. And the batteries
They
in
still make
Motorola.
phones?
Yeah, they still make phones, cell phones, smartphones. And not very, very smart about making them because the battery is stuck inside there. It is not removable. It's not like a...
You get like a YouTube video to figure that out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got it, and I actually ripped my phone apart last night and destroyed it.
Oh, no.
Actually, I got a picture. I'm going to post it on
so
it.
you're phoneless?
What?
You're phoneless? I mean...
No. My daughter, I'm smart enough. I'm strategic minded, maybe not technically minded. I'm strategic minded because I keep a lot of the old phones for just this reason. So I'm able to go and take the SIM card and swap it out, and I back everything up on my phone. So it's in about a half hour, I'm able to.
You figured that out.
Though I may be technically challenged, these minimum things that you could do, I learned real quick,
Right.
and I'm very nimble at responding.
Like
I do backups.
technologically subsistence.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like this space program. I have a lot of redundant systems.
Right.
Well, I think now's the time to get you to switch over to Apple products.
I'm not going to do it. There's what was my reasoning for not buying an Apple?
Everybody else has it. You don't like it.
Price.
A lot of used products out there.
I know, but I pay $150 for a phone. I don't have to worry about the thing. I get a brand new phone, swap it out. It takes me 30 minutes to swap all my information to it, and all the features in it I don't really necessarily use.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's not one, and you.
I can't.
You know what? You're using your watch. I wouldn't be able to read that. I wouldn't be able to read it.
I mean, I have glasses on.
Well, I got glasses too, and I still wouldn't be able to read it. My arm's not long enough.
No, Apple Watch is incredible, man.
I'm
I mean,
significantly older than you, I think.
you'd be surprised. But
We are not sponsored by Apple.
no. I mean, I'm
You know what? It's all we got. You can't not talk about Apple. That'd be like not talking about AT&T or something like that. Oh well, Apple's more. What would you call it?
Universal.
It inundates our the technical.
It's almost become a
world.
staple of getting along, getting on with stuff. It's such an integral part of communication, Apple, as well as others. But Apple plays a huge role in our communication, our ability to research, our ability to
I know. And because I was dumb enough not to buy one of those, I wasn't able to. I bought a phone that you can't just take the battery out and throw another one back in. Yeah, you had to watch. It was a 5-minute video, and the tools they sent me didn't release the screws, and you have to, plug it in. It has kind of like the
ribbons.
ribbon.
Yeah, Apple's the same way.
Oh, really?
But if you would ask me, I probably have
Okay,
every
Galaxy's
screw.
the Samsung. Boom, boom.
Yeah, the back cover comes off. That's
back
old
cover comes out,
technology.
the battery
yeah.
comes out, and you put
But
swap
no,
in.
I have probably 6 different sets of phone repair screwdrivers and all that stuff. I've repaired several of my old ones.
I'd like to repair it so I can give it to like a woman's shelter or something like that.
I'm just
to give it
saying,
away.
as a business owner, I mean, one of the things that is like really important to me is just like having my technology be synergist, straightforward, and its likelihood of being corrupted is minimal. One of the things that I'm less concerned about is like how much maintenance do I have to do to it, because chances are I'm going to replace it or upgrade it in the next couple of years.
That makes it complete. If I had that criteria for choosing a phone, you bet your ass that's what I would do. Apple Pay and all those things. But that's not my requirement. The features that I use and need at this time is not. And who knows next year? Maybe I will do that. But at this time, I'm not spending more than. There was what was the old commercial? I'm not going to pay a lot
Was there
for
a
this
banjo
muffler.
in the background?
Oh yeah, the Midas
I'm not going
muffler.
to pay a lot for this cell phone. I'm not going to do it. There's guys I see all the time. These older guys, they still got the flip phones. The clamshells and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
I
you
think
know,
those are great.
If that fits your needs, then that's fine.
Yeah.
That's why they still make them. If it fits your
Right.
needs, not everyone needs.
I know when your eyesight's it's funny they made the we talked about the smart watches, Dick Tracy and all that stuff. They're probably the coolest thing in the world. As a kid, you think that would be great, or the tricorder on Star Trek, and then you realize there was a certain size that could go
We all
down
have
to.
the tricorder, man. It's the iPhone.
Yeah, it does more. It does more than that. But what I'm saying is the screen was smaller on those things they were using, and there's a limitation to how small the display can be. Right?
Yeah, when phones first came out, they wanted to be the smallest and the best, and now we're reversing. We're going back to bigger screens, bigger phones.
Well, that's because like the application.
Well, the folding, making it folding, being
something you can have in your pocket versus now it's a multimedia device, right? Now it's like I watch my HBO on that. Now that's where I see Netflix, and this is also my office. This is where I sit down and I put together.
How about Google Glasses? Did you? What happened? Are they still around?
I signed up for them because you had to be like a test subject in order to get it.
What
And
happened to them?
I don't know. I mean, I never heard back about it, but I think there's still some version of them out there. I'm sure we'll see some.
You ever hear the nickname people got for using them?
No.
They're called glass holes.
Well,
Because you're walking around and you're reading, they're doing all their stuff, and you think they're looking at you, and they're doing something else, and that's what they call them. Oh, that's a glass hole. I think it's a great name. You didn't hear that?
No,
Oh,
it's pretty
yeah.
funny.
I had a pair of those like Oakley Rocker Pros, they were called years ago, and it was a Bluetooth thing for your phone, but it was a pair of glasses that you'd actually put earbuds in that actually had earbuds.
Uh-huh.
And that was the greatest thing in the world.
I mean, it makes sense to have a heads-up display on the screen. If you probably dangerous. I guess maybe they pulled them because people were fucking walking into open manhole covers and
Or trying to watch their porn while
walking into
driving.
traffic, right? You're reading your email and stuff like
Anything
that,
can happen.
and your wife's sending you divorce papers, and you go fuck right in front of the Route 73 bus comes and nails you, right?
Well, and then another product was not as well known as like Google Corporation or stuff like that. Snapchat, the app, actually came out with a pair of glasses that had a camera on their glasses, and they would actually live stream to your Snapchat, or you could hit a button, take a photo, and it would just automatically upload it right to your profile.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Like video,
That's like a
marketing
GoPro,
is
right?
the-
Kind of, but it's on your face, so it's your sunglasses and a little tiny camera.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of a little revealing, right? If you're open to the world and you're wearing it and you're live streaming, and let's say you're a guy and you're live streaming, and all you do is you're walking down the street, you're just looking at different sets of boobs, or maybe crotches, depending on what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Depending on what your like is, or
kind of a-
asses.
That's
This is
kind of a
like name.
giveaway.
Like
Yeah.
prick looker, right?
Prick,
Like a prick looker.
prick licker.
Looking at pricks.
Yes, and that's it.
Sign me up, man.
I never
Why don't
heard
you just
that.
sign me
I
up?
know, a prick licker. Oh wow.
Oh my!
Oh well, we did bill it as the
Can't unhear it.
Yes, it's done. Glass holes, prick lickers. 2019 has brought us a lot of joy here in Key Largo. If you recall, if we can go back in time. Some of the things we recall, I didn't script it out and things like that. The biggest story of the year, I think, was that you if you're an avid listener, you heard about the what's all the nicknames for this guy?
Walking jacker.
The hijacker.
Hijacker. Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, if he had Google Glasses, he wouldn't have been arrested.
No, he still would have been. He still had to masturbate.
He could have stayed at home. He didn't have to. Go
Well,
to the
wait
store
a
to get
second. The
movie.
guy went to get a DVD.
That's what I'm saying.
The guy went to have a DVD, so he didn't have streaming service. Right, Matt? If a guy had to go, okay, let's give you a premise.
I'm
The
not-
guy
I'm-
has to go to the
Let's
sex store.
rehash his story.
Can't
This
hold
guy's
himself, and he's jerking himself while walking to the sex store.
a
to
woman,
get a
a woman
DVD.
traveling south on Route 1 sees him heading north to a sex store. We're not going to name it because they won't let us
call
do
it
a
the
show
sex
there
store.
yet. Yeah, sex store, and he's exposed himself while pleasuring himself.
Sure.
And after he gets stopped, his explanation is the whole story. He was going to the store.
He was going to the store to get a DVD and
a porn.
a porn DVD, obviously, and he couldn't wait.
Couldn't wait.
Well,
And and he got arrested for that, doing that. And that story is in itself, and the guy has a rap sheet because I think a week or two later he got arrested for robbing the Marriott and things like that. But when you adding to that, a DVD tells you a little about the guy.
right.
He doesn't have internet service or access to either access or internet service because porn is free.
I don't really hear like a story about like how somebody doesn't have access to the internet. What I'm hearing is a story of like mental health needs not being met for
But a DVD
some guy who's walking around with a gun.
Well, no, but you have to go to.
He's a great criminal planner because if he committed a robbery afterwards, what a great footnote for a defense attorney to say, he's mine.
He's a sex addict.
Look at what he did. He masturbates in open public. He doesn't know where he's at. How could he be held responsible for this robbery?
Luckily he doesn't commit bigger crimes, capital crimes, because during a capital crime they definitely would collect DNA evidence. Because he sounds like he would leave a lot of DNA
He's
evidence.
slinging
around.
that everywhere.
Yeah, all
That-
the-
God.
He's slinging
Like
that
a-
mayonnaise around.
like a snail
Just like,
on a
just like-
philodendron leaf. It
or
just-
someone working on a foot long at Subway on
I want some hand
a
sanitizer
on a
right
Friday
now,
morning.
I gotta tell you,
How's that? That's a better one.
a Subway artiste.
A Subway sandwich
a
artiste.
Subway sandwich artiste.
Yeah, I mean, did anybody look at his mugshot? I mean, he could be making our public subs or working at a restaurant that we frequent.
Well,
Well, at least I hope he washes his hands.
some of the things we've lost at the place I work. I work at the Catch Restaurant in Key Largo at 102. We'll give a little bump right to them there. It's at 102, the Catch Restaurant and Bar. Ooh, this is sticky. I just picked up a rubber
that's not
cracker.
the Catch Restaurant and Bar that's
Yeah,
sticking.
I
It's,
just picked
it's
up
where
something that
Jim's
was
sitting
sticky.
right now.
Yeah, that's sticky.
good thing we
Oh,
don't have
yo,
this as,
that
on
was
live streaming
talking
or
to Catch
anything.
Restaurant. This is sticky. No,
Yeah.
no, they got happy hour 3:30 to 6:30 Monday
That's
through
when it
Friday.
gets sticky.
Yes,
And Martini Monday.
and Martini Monday 6 to
we
8.
had that last night, and that
Yeah.
was awesome.
And
That
they
place
do
was
cook
packed.
your catch, and
That
they have
place
a
was-
wide menu of
Last couple of
seafood
Mondays
and non-seafood
has been
dishes.
very busy.
Yeah, we had a party of 8 last night.
Yeah, but I noticed it's gotten. I know that there's more people down here now because of the season.
Yeah, and the bar gets filled up and stuff like
was
that.
it full? Was there a lot of people there?
There were a lot. I think there was a lot of
So
people
it was
there.
a good,
Was that a good
looking
night?
opportunity.
It was a good night.
Yeah.
It was a good night. We had extra help on and stuff like that. Not on the bar. I mean, I had the owner comes behind and makes a couple martinis. Does it finally? Really helps out. But the problem there is there's only one well, so one person's
Yeah, you're
doing.
kind of stepping over each other. I imagine.
Yeah. So, you got it. Yeah,
I don't know what
that's
that is.
sticky. I don't
But
know.
this
I hope the
is,
I'm not
hijacker.
touching it.
But this is the busy season, so people should know that in Key Largo, when it snows in the northern parts, like in the tundra, where Matt's from,
Yeah.
the geographical anus of Iowa.
people tend to
Wait,
come,
that did
come this
migrate.
way,
South Central.
and it's been bumper to bumper traffic
oh, okay. I located it
for
then.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
2
Matt
weeks.
tried to get to Key West yesterday. That didn't work out.
Oh, you got stuck in traffic.
I could have got there. It was just like I only wanted to go so far as the sun would permit me. So, get past the old number 7 mile bridge and turn around and come home back.
Oh, okay. Well, this time of year, right. It's the thing about in the industry with the tourist industry down here is right around Christmas. Everyone expects it to really pick up right the day of, the day after, and it's not exactly like that here.
Yeah.
It's a couple day lead time, and then people come. Now it's going to be busy through this week into the beginning of next week. People take out a little extra time off, and then we'll have a little drop for a while, but it still be busy, and then it goes into high season for 2.5 months. And so if you come down here, just prices, you're paying a premium, but you're escaping
reality.
Yeah, and we do have the people.
Ton of unrealistic people living here.
Yeah, very strange people down here. People that come down.
Oh, we could set records in strange.
Yeah.
Or what we call unique.
The bar.
Unique.
The bar is high for strange
Yes.
down here. You have Mandy. There was the guy that
Cotton
worked
Mandy.
Mandy?
Oh, that was mine. Sorry. Another
What?
Mandy?
Yeah, another Mandy. Who do you have?
Oh, we have Cotton Mandy.
Who's Cotton Mandy?
It's just a very unique girl.
Okay.
Really?
We had a friend down here that she would just slap him up and get drunk and all kinds of shit. It's just funny. But
Okay.
that's my unique.
Mandy's this Cuban guy. He's been here since I guess he was very young because he has slight accent, and he has a kind of nebulous residential presence here, either on a boat or staying at someone's house. His mother lives up in Miami. He's got a squinty eye on one side. He drinks Blue Long Island iced teas. That's all he drinks. Blue Long Island iced teas. And he worked with me for a little while, and he liked the house band that we had, the Freddies. He'd come in, and it was dubious for them because he'd come in and say, I'm your biggest fan. And, you know what I mean? If you had someone missing a couple teeth and doing this stuff, they're your biggest fan. They're not like the person you put on the poster for your band. And Mandy used to do all this. I got one good story about Mandy. He was working at our place, and they give him one Blue Long Island iced tea at work, right? And the guys that work in the kitchen got it for him one day, and they held it in their hands. And he walked over and got it, and he took it and he poured it down the drain. I had just made it for him. And he goes, listen, they gave me a Blue Long Island, but I know they messed with it, and so I dumped it. And I said, oh, okay. And he says, can you make me another? I said, you only get one, man. I made that for you. And he got super pissed. He walked out for a day and then tried to come back the next day. But he was the kind of guy who'd come into work. He'd have a beer in his hand. He'd stop near our dumpster, and we'd smoke a joint. Just sitting there. You know how those guys squat on the street, not taking a shit, just squat, sit down because he didn't have a place to sit. Squat. He'd squat down, drink his beer, smoke his joint right next to him. We'd have to say, listen, you got to do that wherever else you do it, not like right in the place and you shouldn't be doing that before you go into work. And he always smelled like he just got out of a van with a bunch
afternoon of hard labor.
No, pot.
Oh, he just reeked of pot.
Reeked of pot. Yeah,
that's always good for customers to smell.
I've done. Oh, he's in the kitchen. He was in the kitchen.
Doesn't matter.
We never let him go out, and then he get cleaned
and
out.
He's cooking food. Or
no,
was?
It's a dishwasher.
Oh, even
you think
still.
we let him do that? Well, I'm telling you, dishwashers.
Unlike the one that was throwing plates over the wall?
Yeah. The dishwasher, there was a kid that he was just at the end of the night.
I forgot about him.
Too many plates or silverware. He would just take it and toss it over the wall in the back. And someone called up the owner, said, hey, listen, come on, can you come over here? We got a bunch of your materials over here in our yard. And they go, what? And they walk over, and there's just plates and silverware on the other side of the wall.
That's where all our martini glasses went.
Our martini glasses we wash. You can't put those through the dishwasher. They would.
Yeah, I think I prefer a stone guy doing the dishes as opposed to some jerk throwing stuff over the wall.
He did a pretty good job.
Of throwing stuff over the wall?
No, the guy that
he got away with it for a while.
The stoner.
The stone guy was also implicated in a homicide.
Well, as you do. in
Who was
Dade
that
County, in
implicated in
Monroe
the
County.
homicide right after Irma?
Sounds
Right
like Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, well, what happened is this guy was rooming with people on a boat. And right after Irma, if you recall the days after Irma, the people that were down here, there were some really shady characters. There were the scavengers that were getting the aluminum and all the scrap. They were picking up scrap down here, and which was okay. They were cleaning up too. But these other guys coming down, you don't know what they're doing. And these guys were helping a woman who lived behind the VFW, and her house caught on fire. And they found her dead inside the house, and they found her. She had stab wounds.
Oh.
So they, instead of dying of asphyxiation, she died of a homicide. And he was one of the people of interest. And since they haven't solved it, I figure we can still talk about it right now. There doesn't seem to be the guys roaming around here today. But they implicated each other, I think. One of the prime suspects implicated this guy, Mandy. And a couple nights when he was drinking, I just went and looked at him and I said, hey, did you, in the middle, I was just asking him a lot of questions. I go, like, where were you? Born in Cuba. Where'd you grow up? In Miami. Blah, blah, blah. Did you kill that lady behind the VFW?
What was his reaction?
No, I didn't. He goes, yeah, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So
I might smoke some marijuana in the kitchen when I'm washing, but I don't do no murder.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Mandy passed through our lives in 2019. And also we lost, what were a couple people we lost? Jeannie, the woman that had her teeth stolen. You don't know about that one? It was a couple years ago that we first ran into this woman, Jeanette. She came in and she had asked for this man, and his name was Don Canary. And it sounded like a made-up name. It sounded like an alias. But after further investigation by one of our servers, he had a Facebook page. And actually, one time when he tried to pay with a credit card, it said Don Canary on the credit card, too. So his Facebook page and everything matched. And Don Canary actually lived with Jeanette, and I guess he needed money. And what he did, he took her teeth and ran off.
Awesome.
And wanted $500 from her.
he flew the coop.
Yeah, well, he ended up coming back. But she went out. She was doing an APB.
I got it. Don't worry.
She was
Papa
doing
got
it. Yeah, Don
just
Canary
saying.
flew the coop.
She's now on
Wait,
a,
canaries don't go in coops. Chickens go in
Add a
coops.
little light to this.
Canaries are in cages.
teeth robbing.
Yeah, we
plate
got pretty dark
throwing,
there for a minute.
she now
Junk
makes money
man
by
stabbing,
offering gum jobs on the
mental
corner.
No,
illness,
she's dead.
Jerking.
Oh,
She
no more gum
died.
jobs?
She died. She died this year. And Don came in, and he was talking about how tough it is to wake up in the morning next to your girlfriend being dead. But he was spending all her money trying to use her debit card.
As you do. See?
Yeah, so I turned and gave it back, and I said, "Well, you pretty much. First of all, you're not Jeanette, and she's dead. You said she was dead, so this isn't yours. You're gonna have to go someplace else." So yeah, he disappeared, and then the vomiting lady, she was the roommate. She would come in there and drink, and then she'd.
There's some great people that live here, though, too, right?
What?
There's some great people that live here, though, right?
I thought they're great. They're great, crazy people.
These are great characters.
They totally
Great
are.
character.
I mean, where
You
else?
can't write this stuff.
Per capita, you run into more of this here than you are in most places.
There's
Vegas.
a lady that there's
I
a
would say
lady
even more than Vegas.
there's a lady that comes in on martini night with her friends. Very nice lady, two of her friends, and she goes, she's married, and she goes, "We're the whores, and we're coming in to drink."
Welcome.
Yeah, she's saying it. She's not hoary, like she's calling herself a whore.
This is
They never.
Association of Former Whores.
She just called her them's whores. And
We're the
rest of them,
Association
we're
of
the
Former
whores.
Whores and Healthcare Workers.
Remember those ladies? Yeah. Oh, you were there for it. Oh, great.
Were they
So-
wearing nurses' shoes? I just want to know.
No.
Okay.
Oh,
Adventure
man.
clubs.
What are you trying to say about that?
Nothing.
Okay. Yep. And so we lost a couple. We lost a couple of our regulars at the bar. They passed away suddenly. Some of these, when these older people, bar the bar community. You get people that come in, they come and go, and that, especially in the Keys, these people are what we call it transient. They're in and out. They're down here for this young guy started, Brandon, coming down. He was 22 years old, dive instructor. I guess he was taking a hiatus from higher education. And for some reason, you get these young people to come down, and they're the ones that are the most attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they haven't been beaten down by life. They only had a certain amount of time to really do damage to themselves.
Whatever happened to Brandon?
Well, Russ. I shouldn't have said his name, but he was hanging with one of the guys that come in. The father of the kid that threw the stuff over there.
Right.
And he was coming in and out. And you see the kid coming in, and he just started hanging out with this guy, Russ, and all of a sudden you can see life getting a little raggedy. In the beginning, pie in the sky, coming in, being a dive instructor. It was going to be like sea hunt.
Yeah, he seemed real positive.
Treasure hunting and stuff like that. And then
he had that light in his eye, and he was just all excited.
It wasn't
about
at
life.
it's never at the end.
It
They
fizzled
come down.
out, huh?
No, they come down here. They work the dive boats. They get a little better than minimum wage. You know, they work their asses off, putting equipment away, cleaning the decks, and all this stuff, and then they go. And the prices down here are super inflated, so they're paying for the room and board, going out and having a couple drinks if they can.
And then they're flat broke.
And then, someone were using drugs and stuff.
Yeah,
and they
it's
get
like
kind of a little raggedy. You see these people 21, 22, 23, and they really look.
I would imagine it's no different than people who think that, movies and entertainment is their life, and they go to California and then they realize, no,
I think there's a version of this just about anywhere that's beautiful or has something exceptional that people are drawn to, right? I mean, whether it's in, theater, dancing, or performance, or if it's like Hawaii or, the Caribbean or the Keys. I mean, this is what's going to happen. Someone is like, I'm going to make it on Broadway one day. I mean, eventually they're going to have some version of soul crushing to kind of bring them back down to reality. And by the time they've learned that, because they didn't have the research or the means to be able to make those choices, here they are. Enjoy the shells of the humans that once
strung
arrived.
out. Next thing they know, they're losing their teeth to their partner who decided he needed to buy booze with them.
Right.
Hey,
there's some. There are the people that are enjoying their lives and doing things. You don't see them day to day because they don't have time to necessarily hang out and drink all the time because they're doing shit. They got a lot of stuff going on, and they got a full dance card out there. But down here, I guess just your expectation when you're heading down here. What do you expect when you come here? I mean, people come down on vacation. They get, some of them are just they go and fucking go. They want to go fishing, and they catch 20 pounds of fish, right? And then they bring in the fillets, and there's 6 of them. So how many fucking fish you think you're going to eat? What are you going to do with them?
Yeah.
Oh, well, why don't you take it?
I'll freeze it for later, and then it goes bad anyway.
Yeah. They don't, that's their expectation. And there's other people that come down here, they just come, you're in the Keys. People come in the bar, and they're intoxicated as they come into the bar. And you say, I can't serve you. You're I don't even know how drunk you are yet. Where you're going to be in 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
If I give you another one, that's the one that could have send you out. So, and they said, but we're in the Keys. I said, the rules are the same here as they are in St. Augustine and stuff like that. Sometimes they're even a little tougher down here. But you're not going to tell anybody anything of grown-ups when they come down here. And they end up, you see it on, if you go to Monroe County,
.net, the Monroe County Internet.
Yeah, the Sheriff's Department. And,
they're on there every night.
Yep, and you'll just see, let's say more than half the people are people that are current. They're always through the system.
What about the kids that grow up here? What are they going through?
Some of them.
How do they succeed?
Some of them do. Some of them do very well, and they move out of here. Some of them go out and then they come back. You get like a third, maybe stay.
Monroe County is not unlike a small town.
Sure.
As opposed to, say, Miami, Orlando, Tampa.
Yeah.
It's not that. So there is some attractiveness to being a smaller town with a slower pace. So you can go to any small town in Florida, and you can ask that very question: what do the kids do here? And they'll have the same angst. There's nothing here. I want to get out. Let me go to college away from home.
Right.
Yeah, so that's that.
They
whole
get to meet
thing.
the kids down here. Get to meet people. It's much more than a small town. They get to meet people that have
Because it's so transit. There's so many people.
Yeah,
coming
no, but
through
they
here.
meet people that are accomplished, successful, and they can
Diverse.
see that, and they
Much
and
more
they do,
diversity.
and the kids down here are well traveled, so they get to see that much different than I guess even just the poorer kids down here get to see a lot. They do well down here, and I'll tell you, during the high school graduation, you should see all these scholarships that come out.
Yeah.
There
The
for
schools down here do very well. They're very well considered. Again, I'll use Dade County as an example. Just the next county over, schools not perceived as well as the schools here. I found in talking to natives of Monroe County, young, not so young, old, pretty much they're able to conduct a full conversation with you. They're conversant on quite a good array of topics. It's not like you don't get the what's that? You don't get a whole lot of that, and usually they're washing your dishes at the catch. The ones that do.
We get a couple. No, we have a kid in high school.
Well, it's the truism.
that's
Is,
really-
if you can't do that, you're going to end up flipping burgers at McDonald's. And thank God for those industries. Those people have something to do. But
You don't
most
see those.
are conversant.
It's
they're
funny.
intelligent.
Years ago, you would see 40 years ago, and that's probably the nature of the thing. You'd see high school kids working at the fast food places,
Right.
and doing the dishes. We actually have a senior in high school doing our dishes. He's a great student. He's probably going to go in the military after he graduates from school, and he works 3-4 nights a week doing dishes at our
Well,
place.
those jobs were intended for high school part-time employment.
Yeah, and then, and down
necessity
here,
has
and,
made them
and
something
the
else.
fast food places
Right.
down here, I don't know, a lot of those kids. Every so often, see some of the kids holding different jobs down, the lifeguards, things like that. But you don't see a lot of kids doing the real.
What about the
hard
H-2B
work.
visa program? You think that has something to do with that?
What's
What?
that?
Like visa program, like bringing in like international people to be able to kind of do the labor at a rate that can be done that can't be done by locals.
Well, we have the
People
Hispanics
from all over the world
that come
working
in.
here.
No, we don't really.
Our
bring
restaurant,
in,
our restaurant the industry would be
well,
would
Miami
collapse
Beach
down
does
here.
that.
Would
Yeah.
be collapsed down here without
most places
Latin
with some
Americans.
degree of tourism have some sort of like that H-2B visa program. You'll even see that in like places like northern Minnesota on a resort on Lake Superior, and then and most people there are either Eastern European or
Well, it's a win-win,
Spanish
isn't it?
descent.
I mean, it's a win for the employer; they pay less, and it's a win for the subject, who gets a great tutelage in the
Sure.
industry that they have a passion for.
And then it's a win for the consumer because they pay less.
Right.
Right. I mean, the only thing is, it does kind of suck. Is that unfortunately, I mean, when we're not supporting like these higher paying jobs, we're not necessarily supporting our our people who could be working them too. But no, I mean, I see that it's all over the place. I've seen it in Hawaii. I've seen it in California. I've seen it even in like Lake of the Ozarks, where you end up with this massive amount of kind of H-2B kind of visa workers
Well,
to
yeah,
be able to
meat
do that work.
packing, things like that.
Right.
Agricultural.
Sure.
It's just as the U.S. moved away from production, industrial moved more to service, and then you have the things that are heavy. The things that are left behind are very labor intensive.
Well, I
And
know
then
Miami
what's
Beach-
not automated, there's things that are automated too. So you got the remnants of that. You haven't been able to automate most of the agricultural industry yet.
But this is a service industry
Yeah.
oriented place, and the places like Miami Beach or St. Augustine, I know for a fact, has that program, and you'll find a lot of international employees working there.
Right.
I've
Not
not
just
noticed
Latin
that
American
here.
descent
I've not
or
noticed
Latin
that.
descent.
I don't think
that
you're going to see in 2020. You're going to see much more. You're going to probably. It depends on what's the atmosphere, the political atmosphere is in the country, whether we have the people to do those jobs. In Key Largo, we had the bungalows just opened up a week ago. It's a all-inclusive in the United States, which is most of the all-inclusives you see are in the Caribbean and in Mexico and these South American countries where the labor costs are super low, and they can offer. You could go and stay there for $600-700 a week. Same thing as the cruise industry too.
Right.
So
that's a ton of international labor.
yeah,
in the cruise
but
industry.
down here, they need to call on people from like Miami, especially since they've been cracking down on immigration. That the visa program isn't providing enough people, at least in the Keys. They're still relying heavily on people that aren't documented.
They're
And
either
the
not-
bungalows, when they opened up, you've seen like whenever a new resort opens, especially since Irma, there's no jobs here, right? And then all of a sudden season rolls around, and then they need more people,
Right.
and there's no employees. And then a couple places open up, and they start draining the employees from the other places. And we have the tethered lifeline of the bus system, Monroe-Dade bus line, that brings workers down here. And they profile
Some of them are undocumented. Most are, resident aliens.
Yeah.
They have their papers, and because they're the cheap labor force, right?
And there are citizens that come down,
Yeah, but
and
they're
they're
the cheap labor
normally
force.
they're at the bottom rung, and down here they can get $12 to $15 an hour for up in, let's say on the mainland, they'd be getting
But they can't live here. They're bussed in,
yeah.
which is a
Yeah, it's not a livable wage for someone who lives here.
no, not at all. So what the problem is, these employees.
You got to do better than
they're
$20 an hour.
An
to
hour
really
and a half,
kinda-
2 hours on a bus. They get to work 10 to 14 hours in
Yeah.
the service industry, and then it's an hour and a half, 2 hours
Yeah.
minimum to go home.
That'd be hard.
And it's every day. It's most of the time 6-7 days a week.
We had this discussion about that. Like, it's actually an extra shift.
Yeah.
If you
of
just
travel.
worked around the corner from your house, an extra shift. So they have to pay anywhere from 25 to 30% more in the end. I think people get diluted by the by the extra pay, and they don't do the extra math. That your time is money, right?
Your time, your travel, everything is money.
Time is money.
Yeah.
And you only have a certain amount of time a day.
And no one.
But
really-
we're gonna.
How many people figure quality of life in this? So maybe working 40 hours instead of 60 hours. Would
Since
actually
we're
do you better.
since we're on that in the Keys, and we're talking about 2019, we can move on to 2020. One of the big issues 2019, and it was still right point right over here for over 90 days. The neighborhood, and there's a lot of other neighborhoods in the Keys and Miami that have been inundated during I'm using the air quotes. I'm not going to do them here because you're not going to see them. But king tide, there you go. At the same time, king tide. They say so, but it's there are people that insist no matter what. Now this is a financial discussion at this point. For 2019, the people in these areas have suggested that they needed to
Sitting
retrofit
in
the
the
road.
lowlands.
They need to retrofit the highways, and the county and the
unfortunate.
state has to fund it. And I think they were saying that it would be some crazy amount. There's 312 miles of road in the Keys that are subject to flooding.
NPR just had this on their radio program.
Yeah, how much was it?
Well,
How much money?
for Summerlin Key? So we're talking a few miles of road. To raise that was the county would have to pay $158 million, I believe, was the number they
It
used.
ain't going to happen.
No, and that's
Okay, so that's how
and
many
a half
year-round
miles of
residents?
road.
We got 64,000 people in the Keys, and that would raise a tax burden of $2,000 plus for that road on each man, woman, and child in the Keys. And then there's other ones. So then the easier way would start weaning people away. And I hate to say this because the people that they have a legitimate argument that they have a lot of money sunk into the real estate. That's a problem. And they're not going to be able to get anything from it with the flooding. But, and it's your real estate guy, Matt.
I am.
The banks and mortgage companies know this. So now you're seeing a migration from 30-year mortgages to these one. And I'm not saying you probably can't get any mortgages on these flood-prone areas. Maybe now. No. You may not be able to. They're going to start in the places that aren't flood-prone. They may go to a 15-year max. 15-year max. And that could probably rapidly change if the high tide mark changes in the future.
This stuff is actually all kind of like higher theoretical pieces of like what is considered to be used as underwriting standards for a loan, right?
Yes.
And so being able to take these like larger external factors and put them into place and saying, actually, all of these criteria need to be met in order for this to be a secondary market conveyable product. Those things can all change. And it's something that is actually usually demanded by the investors. And so I know it's hard to imagine that an investor can actually demand what type of mortgage you get, but that's totally the case. Every institution.
Of course. Who wants the risk? Who wants to take the risk for underwriting a loan that you're going to say this property's? Well, listen, it's 1.5 million, but 6 inches of sea level rise, it comes zero. Right? Zero. It's a simple math. The risk, when the risk gets high, yes, there's no. The only way that would change is if it started going the opposite direction. People say, well, I'm going to bet the opposite, that the levels drop. And that would be the only remedy for that. And that's not happening anytime in the future.
They did that. They were betting on mortgages that were failing, and that was one of the major parts of the economic collapse.
Oh, the Moody rating system, right? When they were bundling these high risk,
like higher failure rate mortgages, and they go sell the crap out of them 2, 3, 4 times over.
But they can't do that anymore.
No, I mean there's been some deregulation of that to allow that to reestablish itself once again. However, it's going to be a ways off. But
I mean, even an investor with a moderate, you have to have a certain memory of history that you're going to have to beware that you're investing in something that's.
Finance has nothing to do with safety. Finance is all about the ability to reconvey and make more money. And so they don't necessarily care a great deal about what, historically, is this going to fail? Sure. But can we make a bucket on this in the meantime? Absolutely.
Do you still think you can?
Let's make a bucket.
Do you think they make a bucket? I mean, first of all, you have it's down here in the Keys. You have other things other than just being able to get a mortgage. It's being able to get insurance.
Right.
And then being able to, the secondary thing is being able to drive your vehicle to your house.
Sure.
And things like that. And the Keys are.
You get to a certain point, and really, once you hit that $500,000 threshold for a single-family residence, and just trying to get a regular mortgage isn't something that's going to be all that easily attained anyway. And you're going to be pretty much discounting yourself away against any of the federally guaranteed products. And so, like FHA, like USDA, which they do for a lot of rural communities, communities under the population of 10,000 to be able to get 100% funding. I'm not sure what exactly Florida's standard is for that. And then when you get to the VA, they have funding limits as well for their products. However, I mean, that's actually a great opportunity for people to be able to utilize when it comes to those service members buying a property. But I mean, even some of the Ginnie Mae stuff too. So
we're directly addressing though properties that are in flood zones that are becoming flood zones weren't designated. There's places that They redrew the maps recently, and they're going
That's
to
a
probably
FEMA
do that
thing,
every
yeah.
year, the FEMA maps. And that changes the
Everything.
criteria. Yeah, but there's a certain segment of the populace down here. They show up at the meetings and expect that, and the representatives say, "Listen, they're blunt, and they say, "Listen, you said it. You bought a home in a floodplain.
Right.
You bought a home on a floodplain, and they'll say that's what you did,
Sure.
and you've chosen to ignore what the risks were.
You took the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're expecting, and it's usually it's funny. A lot of those people are very anti-big government.
Sure.
They're
But
they're
that's
expecting.
going to be the only thing that saves them.
Until it's
But they're not. They can't do. You can't.
Well, I mean, the other thing is too is like we don't. This is America, right? The foundation of what American studies are. This is the foundation of what we are as humanity within our country. Of like, we protect ourselves, we take care of ourselves, and when we see something that's like, we're not going to build a bridge to nowhere by any means, but if we have the opportunity to be able to, do something to protect a community by building flood walls or levees for people in the Midwest. That's a much bigger concern, obviously, than it probably is here for rising rivers and whatnot, because all of the agriculture has kind of drained all of the wetlands off, so there is no buffer to kind of slow that. Or if it's there's so many different things, and it's all such a circumstantial piece. But in the meantime, when it gets to government, they have the opportunity a lot of the time to step in and say, actually, you know what, these are national funds, so let's take that whole country and focus those on
okay. You got 200 families, right? And you have a pool of fund that's available for 15,000. And you're going to draw 50% of those funds to help those 200 families at the detriment of those other families. It's an inordinate. It's
an
inordinate.
It's a school system. I mean, think of it like that. Think about it.
Schools for everyone.
Is it? Like,
what do you mean? It's public school.
Right. So let's just say
it's not for you. Don't.
Let's say I move my retired mother here and she's paying school tax. What's the point of that? Right.
That's a public school system.
It doesn't serve her.
No, it
but
doesn't.
did your mother had take advantage of a public school system before?
Actually, she didn't. I went to private school. But no, I mean, this is
but in the terms of the greater good, the
same as
contribution
national
that we
defense
all make to the future generation by supporting our schools.
If you choose to live near,
it's
if you
one of
choose to
those
live on the water,
socialistic aspects of our
But Joe, we're supporting a
federal
small
government
base of the population based on that. Granted, it does represent exponential growth, right? And it does represent like future decisions and future uses for those peoples.
Yeah.
The same thing can be applied to some of these communities.
Education,
I'm not disagreeing.
I know you're not.
education is smart money. Spending money on a losing proposition is putting up flood walls when the flood. Let's retrofit the roads 18 inches. What if it floods 24 inches? So you keep on doing it, you keep on doing it, you keep on doing it. Where's the point where you stop doing it and you just say, hey, we lost this one. We got to move on. We got to start mitigating the property loss and things like that. That's the point I'm making. Now, education is an investment in the future. Putting money into a losing a proposition like Venice is failing right now, Boston, these are people that have been fighting it for years, and they can't do it. We learn from our lessons. Boston's losing. Miami, downtown Miami's losing. What's the point of putting money into a losing proposition?
I think the Netherlands are largely underwater, aren't they?
They've been doing that for years. They've been doing that. They've been fighting it for years.
Weren't they founded on that? I mean, wasn't that largely underwater as it was?
The reclamation of land in the Netherlands has been going on for hundreds of years.
Right.
And we're talking about things that
we're also
we're
talking
coming
about
to.
So it's like a systemic issue that
the Netherlands is the size of New Jersey.
that its government has actually adopted.
It's the size of New Jersey
to ensure its survival.
And they've been doing it for hundreds of years.
I'm just saying.
They've been doing it for hundreds of years.
Well, listen, but
since the 1600s.
It's a decision that we would have to make as a culture and a society. That if
by electing the people that you want in office.
Well, it all comes down to that.
Well,
doesn't it?
why should someone that you're talking about? Okay, so you're equating education with someone that decides they want to live on the water, wants to live on a canal.
No.
That's actually, there's a class issue there. I mean, someone who wants to live on the water, and we're talking about somebody with some substantial income versus Joe Schmo.
That's what we're talking about. Still right point right there.
Everybody in Florida.
That's exactly what we're talking about. There are $1 million homes we're talking there. They're not. The average home. We're not talking about a bunch of trailers going underwater.
Sure. Yeah, no,
We're talking about $1 million homes.
I don't see any of those trailer parks put back together that were
No,
here
they weren't. They
before.
were destroyed. They
Yeah.
were
not allowed
they were
Not to
demolished.
return.
Right.
You're not allowed to return. So how fair is that?
I agree. I think it's not.
So still right, we're going to finance them, but the people that lived in the trailer
You're
parks.
certainly not protecting like every resident's rights at that point, are you?
No, and I don't think
state-
government is possibly set up to protect on that level with this subject
Yeah.
matter every single person.
It's like the Outer Banks, right? The Outer Banks.
What's that like? Was like North Carolina or something?
Yeah.
I don't
Outer
know.
Banks. You got the people vacation homes and stuff like that. Where is the government supposed to? We're not there to protect assets. We're there to protect lives, well-being, and things like that. Assets in the FDIC and all that protects assets. But you're assuming a risk when you're buying on a barrier island.
I understand that, but sometimes those barrier islands, their ability to have business and homes equate to there's an economic component to a state or a county, and so
I think the barrier islands probably the greatest benefit is to do is protecting the coastline.
So we're like trying
the
to
island itself. How
The
about
island itself.
What about the houses on the island?
The houses, I'm just saying, you're sinking money into a
Well, you
losing
can go to
proposition.
Hutchinson Island
Every time you
Port
keep
St.
on
Lucie,
putting
and
money
they have
into
the
it,
same issue.
if you go and pour it in, you got to think of wind insurance, flood insurance, and
I
things like
understand
that. And we're the state at this point in Florida. The state has to step in and regulate the insurance industry. When the state regulates the insurance industry, they're interfering with the capitalist system. So it's funny.
they write the capitalist system.
Yeah, but when people can't pay the insurance, that means they cannot buy there.
Well, you can't finance there, but you can definitely buy there
can
if you
buy
want to
without
pay for
insurance.
cash.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying
Unless
that
it's
if you
required.
can't
Assume the
if
risk.
you can't
Driving a
assume
car.
the risk for losing your property, and you
Well,
because
if someone
you need
wants to spend their own cash to build a house and run the risk of losing their property, I
They
say
don't-
go
they-
for it.
they-
It's
have
called,
it-
it's called the bundle of rights. You can actually it's something that's part of everyone's ability to be able to convey their own property. This is where
Well, I understand, but when they're in danger of losing their asset, they have the resources to make a petition to the government more so than the people that lived in the trailer park that got demolished. They can go and say, "Listen,
well, they don't own their land though either. I mean, that's also one of the unfortunate parts of like having this like kind of the diaspora of the folks who actually end up living here, right? I mean, we end up with service class, and then you end up with vacation class, right?
Yep.
And then the retirement class is another. There's not a lot of like real working everyday folks, and not when you compare them to the mass population of everybody, right?
no."
I would agree.
So
It's a big number. Let's put it that way.
right. So the local argument is actually smaller than
Yeah,
to
but
everyone,
But
right?
there's an argument to be made that without them, the local economy can't function, or
Right.
can't function as easily.
Sure.
But as a steel right point and all those things, that's not the only place. Eventually, if it does another 6 inches, then it becomes over Port Largo,
Right.
on this side, Port Largo, and this, and then you just have diminishing resources. You're not you can try to do it, but there's better things to do with that money.
There's a program between, I believe it's state and federal government, and they're coming in and buying
That's it.
your houses, and just that's it. We buy the
That's
houses.
it. I mean, if you're gonna-
it's condemned, it's over.
ours,
It's
yeah.
ours. You move out.
Yeah,
and
no, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
if you buy out.
suggesting. You're
that
sinking
may
money
actually
into a pit.
be. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a cost savings idea versus
Sure.
Well, I
then
think
remediating the roads and then, and
Yeah,
then
you-
fighting this.
I
losing
don't
battle.
think they
This
can
is like
give-
an employer offering, retirement buyouts.
Right.
Hey, we can just give them a chunk of money and maybe they'll go away. We don't have to worry about continuing to pay for this person's retirement later on.
Right.
No, it's the same sort of thing. And then you see this. So
mitigate. You cannot give full reimbursement for the property, but you can
get
mitigate
something.
the loss.
So that's one of the things, right? So you can mitigate part of that loss,
Yeah.
part of that financial loss, anyway. But it's like this all over the country too. So it's like you get to like northern Minnesota, the Red River, had overflowed its banks and basically wiped out several cities all the way on its way to Winnipeg, and those areas that they were considered national, and this is a big air quote, national disaster areas, they were available for that FEMA buyout area, right? Which means that the federal government can buy that. It just can never be used again as a house or residential property. I mean that's.
We are in an earthquake zone here.
Yeah.
That or there's a frog somewhere here. I don't know.
No, it's just an extra mangrove smell in the air, folks.
Yeah.
But you see that. So these like low-lying areas, what
Right.
you're kind of saying, like, hey, this is something we did to protect this from happening again and affecting these people who are living here by now consuming and owning this property, so it can't happen to that degree again.
And yet,
without having to change, soil elevation,
Right.
infrastructure.
And yet, and the insurance industry also takes care of some of this, because when something becomes not insurable, there's less there's less investment in that, and so
Same
that
we said about
happens.
healthcare, though.
Don't start with the healthcare.
You're
I'm
welcome.
so pissed off over
You're
the fucking
welcome.
healthcare.
You're
You're going to
welcome.
get me to start cussing like a motherfucker right now. Where's my healthcare? This cocksucking orange motherfucker better provide me healthcare.
I can't help myself. Sorry.
Anyway,
Joe.
so
I'm sorry.
the insurance
Healthcare is not for
industry-
everyone. We're
the
not.
insurance
It's not
industry-
I'll
about.
buy mine on the open market, and it's not cheap.
No.
No,
And then
No.
in South Florida, they were
I'm on a
talking to
fixed
a woman.
income, and I can.
I was talking to a woman
It's like
up in
pulling teeth.
her health insurance costs are equal to her condo mortgage and her maintenance fees,
Yeah,
or
it's
more. It's higher,
It's ridiculous.
and that's before there's any need to get any medical.
What's the age for Medicare? 67.
I don't know.
It's something. It's like
It's not
67.
mine. That's what I know.
Yeah, well, you're asking someone who retires, basically don't, work till you're about 70,
Right. As long as you can.
as long as you can, and then hopefully the next 10 to 14 years that you're alive, you'll have some relief.
Well, I actually have kind of a similar strategy. So I own a couple of real estate brokerages and then a property investment company, which I built from the ground up myself. And the one of the things about that you have to make a decision about when as you're starting your business, how small it is or how big it is how are you going to contribute to Social Security? And I opt not to, and so I don't. And so you're welcome for my previous Social Security contribution, but as the owner of multiple S corporations, so it's a corporation designated as an S type.
Right.
I don't make a Social Security contribution anymore because I also won't be able to draw it beyond that either. Because I'm actually, unfortunately, and fortunately for myself, unfortunately for the fund, but fortunately for me, am able to be able to make a better investment with that money than Social Security would for my continued retirement. Now, if everybody had that ability to be able to make that decision, that could be pretty scary.
Well, the system would close in on
It would be
itself.
zero.
Yeah.
Well, they have
Collapse.
the problem is it's numerical in nature. When it was first devised to people, the life expectancy, you only collected a couple of years on it, and since life expectancy has steadily rose, we didn't widen the pyramid for contributions. So it's an easy fix, but it's hard fix. I don't know why. At 56 years old, if someone told me, minimum age would be 72, 73, I go, okay. Why not? That's how you wind the base. That's how you wind the base. It's a hard one to do, but if you're going to keep it going, make it later.
Well, they've done that several times.
It's
It's
cool.
expanded out over and
And
over
not
and
that,
over
not significantly, not over the rise in expectancy. It was 16 years since the founding of it went up. So, but you know what? We got at it. We're almost at the hour. We're going to have to start wrapping. I got to drive the daughter
That's
down.
a whole hour?
Yeah, we
Man,
did a
that's
whole
a
hour.
Yeah, we can talk some shit.
We got to talk.
long
We got to
time.
talk about our hopes for 2020.
2000.
Do you have anybody who's not white talking about any of this stuff, by the way?
What? I'm not white.
Neither am I.
I try not to be.
Yeah.
I play a white person on TV.
Yeah.
But, well, I can tell you what my hopes are for 2020. I think anyone who's heard me before, and I hope my book does well.
I hope so
That's
too.
my hope for
Do you have
2020.
It's going to do awesome.
Are you through your first draft and all that?
It's coming out in February.
Right.
Oh,
I'm just waiting for the cover art to get sent to me so I can check off on which one I want.
Hmm.
And the pre-orders are available. So
where they get the pre-orders?
you go to writtendreams.com and you go to new releases. There's an icon of a book.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's no cover art, so there's no book to show you, but there's the link. It'll have my bio. It'll have a synopsis of what the book's about. I wrote a book about one of the cases I worked when I was a narcotics canine and assigned to a task force with the feds. It was a very interesting case. And instead of writing a nonfiction account of it, because it went on for 3.5 years, in order to condense it, I found it easier to convey that story as a means of fiction. Not an uncommon thing to do. 75% of the book is true, but I had to, I had to condense characters, condense several individuals into singular characters.
Oh, that's what you mean by.
And so it's fictionalized. And then I'll be honest, there's a couple
Is there a
of
wizard
things.
in there?
A wizard?
No. Okay.
No wizards.
A Grand Wizard?
No wizard.
No.
There's some sons of bitches in there, though, but no wizards. So I hope that does well in 2020, and I hope my retirement account continues to do well in 2020.
Right.
How about you, Matt? You got any hopes for 2020? We just met, but
I'm
big dreams.
I would like to work a little bit less and enjoy my life as much as I can.
You should endeavor to take an extra vacation. Just throw that in
I
there.
do it. I try it if I can.
Yeah.
But real estate is an odd, hard game to
Yeah.
be able to be on the front end. I mean, and one economic collapse and everything goes away.
Yeah.
So, you have to kind of reconcile yourself at being a good gambler, and
And put money away for a rainy day, perhaps?
that's right.
Yeah.
I keep a year of payroll on hand at any point, just to be able to make sure that everybody who works for me knows that that we're not going anywhere. But that's a lot of money just sitting there. It'd be nice to be able to use. But
Well, my dreams for 2020, besides the health and happiness of my family and friends, is that we keep on doing a show, and then eventually we can get a small a band.
a band,
Yeah.
like a music band, like a
No, a band of pirates. No.
like eye patches.
No, a band.
No, a
Like a
band.
band, like a keyboard player,
Right.
and maybe a guitar player, and then, we've done live shows from different restaurants,
Great.
and kind of bring on guests and stuff like that. Still do our shtick, and
Sure. You could get that. What was that name again? The dishwasher guy.
Mandy,
Right. You can get Mandy on.
Freddy's. He's around. He's a marathon right now. Here's you, Mandy. Stay out of fucking mangroves.
Yeah, we can have our music interludes.
No,
on our
but there's
breaks.
Lee Sharp. Lee Sharp. I would like it that we get a sponsor, and that we could do the show, and obviously that would be something I'd like to do, and have a sound. Well, first a sound person, so I don't get distracted. I can focus right
Right.
on what's the
What's
conversation on hand.
Sure.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
it.
put someone else in charge, and you can just sit on the other side. Hope they don't screw it up.
You know what? I think there's a lot of people that could probably do a better job. I'm almost certainly sure about that. I'd like to thank Matt for coming in, and
Thanks, man.
thank you. Matt has a show, a radio show.
Yeah, it's a radio show. It's called Right at Home. with Matt Cargelati in Central Iowa on AM 1410 every Friday at 8:20. So I'm sure none of you will ever hear it.
Oh,
and
but
if you ever need to go
now
to
they
sleep,
know.
Never say never, brother.
make
Never
sure
say.
you tune in, and you can, by all means, listen to the ails of real estate as an industry.
And but you call that the anus? Of,
It's the geographical anus of the
it's
state.
a-
That's where I live, right in the
but it's
lower
not
south
anus like.
central. Right.
Just geographically.
Geographically, that's
yeah.
where you'd find it on a map.
And I'm Joe.
That is
Thank you,
true.
Bob. And I'm Jim Horan. Thank you for listening. And to all of our listeners, have a healthy and happy 2020.